Hello everyone, this is James Shore with another test-driven development video. Last time we finally got our capital gains tax calculation working properly, and now we need to do a lot of cleanup. It's just gotten ugly out there. Our tests aren't very clear. Our code is wonky, like we've got this local variable that isn't used. We're passing in the starting principal, but then calculating the capital gains amount. It's all quite messy and I want to fix it. So let's see. I think I'm going to start with trying to figure out what happened here. When I tried to just type in the starting principal here, it failed. And that really surprised me. So let's run that test again. Yep, it's failing. It's saying withdrawing funds occurs at the beginning of the year. Expected 9,900, but it was 953, 9,533. We back this up, it should work. So why isn't it? It's just the one test that's failing. This one. It's saying withdrawing funds occurs at the beginning of the year. Cert equals. So who's using starting principal? Well, let's write a little test to see if the capital gains is working. So starting balance matches constructor. Do we have a test on starting principal? Yes, we do. Let's pop that up. Oh, and before I forget, we had a lot of problems in the last video about floating points and blah, blah, blah. That was our primitive session finally biting us in the butt. So let's fix that primitive session once and for all. I don't know if we'll get to that in this video, but it's part of the cleanup we've got to do. So, okay, so our starting principal matches the constructor. Our starting capital gains is just the starting balance minus starting principal. So same as oh, and that reminds me, another thing we need to fix is I think we need to make sure next year is setting all variables properly. I think we need to carry forward capital gains, for example. We also need to calculate ending capital gains, which is closely related. Okay, so that's going to fail because we don't even have a starting capital gains yet. Let's create that and blah, blah, blah. Expected 7,010, no surprises. Now, right now, we're calculating that in the constructor, but I don't really want to do that. So let's do it, recalculate it here, like that, with an eye towards getting rid of that. Oh, well, that's circular. We can't get rid of that yet. but maybe we can. Let's see, capital gains amount. That's interesting. We're only using capital gains amount there. So how are we figuring the capital gains? Capital gains withdrawn is starting principal minus total withdrawn. So the starting capital gains is not something anybody's interested in, as far as I can tell. Yeah, capital gains withdrawn is simply starting principal minus total withdrawn. But if we did use capital gains, starting capital gains, no, it's based on the principal though. This does assume that we're not withdrawing more than we actually have, so we need to consider what to do about withdrawing more than this starting balance. And you know what I think I'm going to do is I think I'm just going to make that a failure to start with. We have a green bar right now. So yeah, let's just toss in, okay, let's make that fail fast. And I'm not going to do that right now because when I fail fast, basically we'll make it an assertion. So we'll assert that this is impossible. And I could just throw in a runtime exception, but I want to do it properly, so I'm not going to do it just yet. Okay, so we don't really need to know our starting capital gains. All that matters from the perspective of the calculations we're doing, well, let's go ahead and put that back in for now. And so what I want to do is, I don't understand why this doesn't work. If I return starting principal, it should work. And yet it doesn't. And only on this one method. Withdrawing funds occurs at the beginning of the year. Expected 9,900 was 9,533. You know what? I'll bet you we are getting bitten by this. We still have two constructors in here, one of which doesn't set capital gains. Okay, well there's our problem. Let's get rid of that. Now we don't need this. Well, we'll come back to that. That's going to cause our test to fail because so many of them use that old one. But we're just going to say that by default, we have $10,000 of balance, $10,000 of principal, and that should work. Except we still have some compiler errors. That, by the way, is why I like to use a method or have, rather than doing new everywhere, I like to actually have that common code factored out. And here, kind of next year, we're going to set this to 0. But obviously, that's not correct. We have to fix that. Okay, so there we go, green bar. Now I think I can come back into here. Starting principal is working. Capital gains amount is irrelevant. Nobody's using it. I don't think. No, nobody is using it. And okay, now we can do a little more cleanup. That took longer than I expected. We've already used up most of our video time, but let's try to do a little more cleanup in here before the end of the video. We've got our starting capital gains. And let's just look at this. Starting balance, starting principal, starting capital gains, interest rate, total withdrawn. That's kind of a misnomer because total withdrawn is actually total withdrawn minus capital gains tax incurred. Well, might need to rename that. Ending principal is the starting principal minus the total withdrawn. Let's put in an ending capital gains. Starting principal matches constructor. Ending principal is what? Ending principal considers withdrawals, and then ending principal never goes below 0. And then, yeah, all this next year stuff is going to go down at the bottom, I think. Then we've got capital gains tax stuff. Withdrawing funds occurs at the beginning of the year. Let's rephrase that and say that withdrawn funds are not included in do not earn interest. And we'll put that here up by ending balance. But let's bring ending balance. So I'm trying to put this so it tells a story, is what I'm trying to do here. Ending principal never goes below 0. Ending balance applies interest rate. Withdrawn funds do not earn interest. Multiple withdrawals in a year are totaled. Capital gains, see, withdrawing more than principal takes from capital gains. Capital gains tax incurred needs to cover capital gains withdrawn and the additional capital gains withdrawn to pay the tax. So, and capital gains tax is included in ending balance. There, that's all pretty clean. Okay, now we still need to fix next year. Before I do that, I think I want to do one more thing, which is just make sure that the ending capital gains tax is or ending capital gains applies or includes interest earned. And I think we're going to have to stop here. Let me try to get just a little bit of this in. So we've got a savings account year. Oops. And what we want to do is assert equals that ending capital gains is going to equal, let's see, started out with 3,000. So our starting capital gain should be 7,000. And our ending capital gain should be 3,000 plus 1,000, so 4,000, because we earned $1,000 in interest. All right, I'm going to have to stop here. So thanks very much, everybody, and I will see you next time.